All right, guys, the Iceman here on the Iceman V 2013 YouTube channel. Yukon Huskies are down to Tulsa at the XL Center here in Hartford by about 5 or 6 points the last I checked. Uh, they need to win this game and win the final conference tournament game tomorrow if they get that far to make it into the NCAA tournament for March Madness. I mean, it's, you know, what a year it was last year for them, and this year, when you lose uh, Napier to the Miami Heat and whatnot, and that's a big loss for UConn. But anyway, all right, not much real wrestling news going on this weekend, and really here on YouTube, there's not too many videos going on with YouTubers. They're probably busy watching the conference tournaments. There's been some upsets this weekend. Like I said, Duke got beat by Notre Dame like handily a couple days ago. And depending on what poll you look at, number 3 or number 4 ranked Virginia was defeated by Providence, which was a big loss. Now, and the reason why I said that is because Kentucky's been number 1 all year. They've been undefeated all year. And then we have the likes of Duke, which was number 2. We had Villanova and we had Virginia. So those were the top 4 teams in the country. Whether they will be tomorrow at the selection show at the NCAA tournament selection show or not remains to be seen. But getting to the topic, I am so fortunate to relive or to live through the past 35 years in the world of professional wrestling, where in the early days there were promotions and territories and whatnot, and I never got to see a lot of it because all we had was like VHF and UHF TV stations, and all you could pretty much get was pretty much in the local area, unless you had an antenna on your roof, or you could, here in Connecticut, we could get like some New York stations, some Boston stations, and whatnot, Massachusetts stations, but really nothing further than that. And we got to watch like WWF Superstars All Star Wrestling, which was on a UHF channel 20 here in Connecticut. And a lot of times it wasn't the best reception in the world, but we got to watch that. And so that's where it all began, really. I remember coming home one day and my mother was like, I heard her yelling in the bedroom. I go in, Mom, what's the matter? What's the matter? And she's talking about Tito Santana and Tony Garea. She was all ticked off because they were getting beat. And I said, well, what's going on here? She goes, well, they're wrestling Fuji and Saito, who were at the time were tag team champions. And I knew about wrestling. I used to go to the stores when I was working third shift. I'd go and check out magazines because a lot of times with the job I had time to read. So I'd check out magazines, the typical kind of magazines a guy would want to buy. And then, you see these pictures on these wrestling magazines of Ric Flair covered with blood. You saw a Hulk Hogan with a long cape. He had very, very long hair. He wasn't even in the WWE yet. He was managed, I believe, by Freddie Blassie at the time. And it just caught your eye, And, and then as time went on, I started watching the All-Star Wrestling and the WWF Superstars on Channel 20 here in Connecticut. It was WATR, Channel 20, I remember. And you got into the people that were there. I remember seeing Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Superstar Billy Graham, Larry Zbyszko, there was just a lot of guys, and I started getting into it. Tito Santana, Pedro Morales, who was the Intercontinental Champion at the time, Tony Garea, and the more I watched, the more intrigued I got. And then I kept going to the stores and kept looking for more wrestling magazines, but there was only so many to buy. And then you started reading about all these other promotions, and you're saying, "Oh man, this looks good." You're hearing about Ric Flair, Ole and Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Valets, Precious, and Baby Doll, and but you never got to see them, you know. And then finally, in '79, cable came around to our area, and you got to see a little bit more of World of Professional Wrestling. I got to start seeing NWA wrestling, um, which was basically from down south, and it got even more fun. And then you start reading more and more about other promotions being around, like the AWA. There was just so many promotions that were out there that you just never got the opportunity to see. And then again, when the Crockett Turner, Vince McMahon era really erupted, all these promotions, territorial promotions, sort of disappeared because they all were bought up by both these uh, monopolizing companies. So things changed, and then we just had WCW and basically the WWF, and we all know what happens there. So now, this is why I am so thankful for the internet, because the internet allows us to watch all these other little promotions that are popping up everywhere. It's like, oh my God. I mean, if you're tired of watching a WWE or watching a TNA or tired of watching a Ring of Honor, you can find all these other promotions and watch their shows. Maybe not live all the time, but you can always watch them in the next couple days and see how really good they are. And all these little promotions that come around to your area with all interpromotional superstars, which has really revived the world of professional wrestling in my eyes. I mean, is the WWE worried about all these little promotions? I don't know. I mean, because their ratings are good, but I think in the back of their minds, they're probably saying, you know, maybe someday all this is going to be the downfall of us. I don't know what they're thinking, but I do know that uh, with the internet these days, it has brought us so many options for so many different things on so many different levels. And for me, to watch House of Hardcore or watch Ring of Honor or Beyond Wrestling, PWG, it's amazing. It's totally amazing. Lucha Underground, you know, it's great. There's options. There's options. There's more options on the internet than we get to see on TV. And, I don't know overall whether financially it's better for wrestling. I'm sure it's not better for like the WWE because people can tune out and watch these other promotions. And because a lot of these other promotions don't have TV deals, uh, we get to see them solely on the internet. And it just seems to me that there's more and more little promotions popping up and making a statement for themselves. And I really think that this year in 2015, we have more little wrestling promotions than we ever have. And I think it's wonderful for a wrestling fan like myself and many others out there that love professional wrestling, that don't just thrive on one promotion. Um, I watched TNA last night. It was totally awesome. If you saw the Rockstar Spud and EC3 match, if someone said, "Did you watch Rockstar and EC3?" They say, "Who the fuck cares?" Right? EC3 doesn't do shit in TNA, and Rockstar Spud is just a little guy that can't go nowhere. Watch the match. Watch the match. It was excellent. It was superb. They put on a great 20-minute match. And it shows that they both deserve to be in professional wrestling. And this is what the little promotions do as well. You start watching these promotions and you get used to their names and you start liking some of their stars, and all of a sudden you get hooked on them. And this is what makes wrestlers huge in wrestling, for people to get to watch them. Now, back in the old territorial days, yeah, you got to see your superstars in your promotion that was in your area. But if you were across country, how often did you ever get to see them? It was very, 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 very rare. Um, Even back in the old WWF days, they used to have shows at Madison Square Garden, the Philadelphia Spectrum, which is mainly the only two places that belts really ever changed. And they weren't aired on TV. Not until USA and ESPN came around in like the late '79, and they were pay channels at that time. And you had to pay. I think it was like $4 or $5 back then, for the USA channel, when your regular cable bill was like $12, $13, and you're paying $4 or $5 for one channel. Not many people did it, and then finally they ended up becoming part of the cable deal. But then USA went their different way, and they got away from the sports aspect, and everybody knows what USA does now. But the internet, this is the day and age for wrestling fans to really look into watching wrestling, because you don't have to look too hard. You do searches and here and there, and you can find where you can watch a wrestling promotion. And then, you may watch it the first time and say, okay, it was all right. Then you may go back to and watch it again, and you say, oh man, this was really good. And it makes you want to come back for more. And most of these promotions do that for most of us. I think every little small promotion here, puts out all the stops. There was I believe it was an RCW wrestling show where Jesse Neal jumped off the balcony. I mean, unbelievable. And these guys put everything on the line because they want to get noticed, and they want their promotion to get noticed. And then they hope somewhere down the road that a bigger promotion will pick them up. Now, in all fairness, I don't always think WWE is always the answer, because you can be well known somewhere else, and you go into the WWE, you either change your name, they change your gimmick, and it takes a long time to go through NXT to get onto the main show. And if you don't work out in the first 3 or 4 tries, they dump you. And that's the truth. That is the truth. So, but anyway, be blessed that the internet's there. Take advantage. Watch all these promotions. And I'm going to tell you, if you watch all these little promotions that are out there, sometimes you forget about the bigger ones. You really do. This is the Iceman on this Saturday night. Peace out, everybody. I'm going to have my categories for the Frozen Choice Awards out tomorrow. And after the categories are out, I'm not going to have any nominations for each category. You people are going to be the ones, and I will get more into detail about that tomorrow. So, everybody's have yourself a great Saturday night. If you're watching basketball, hopefully that your team you're rooting for wins, and just be safe. We'll see you next time.